So I guess let's start from the beginning. Rich, how did you get to know the guys? Were you a fan of their music? Were they a fan of your work? Did you guys wait? Were you guys introduced?
They were massive fans of mine, and they tracked me down and begged me to make the film. I literally, I wandered into one of their gigs and was just blown away by them, their stage presence, their charisma. It really reminded me of like Rage Against the Machine, right? If you'd have gone to see Rage Against the Machine when they were playing local gigs, right? I feel like at the time, one thing that struck me was I felt like music had got very much like very PR'd, very packaged, very safe, and to have these lads who were up on stage in the night throwing baggies of white powder into the crowd, and then that actually
bags
happened.
Of flour.
I know, and I found out the hard way about that one.
He was baking bread for 2 weeks.
I know. It was a good sourdough mix, though, I must say. I just thought, they're fantastic, and we eventually sat down and had a pint, and that led into basically the garage scene you see there, and after that we were firm friends.
And so at what point did you introduce the idea of making a movie about their origin story?
I think that was probably in the drug-fueled night. We were just like, right, what's a nice idea, something mad to do. And yeah, I mean, it's so sort of illogical to make a film about a band who at the time, were known in Ireland, but not really beyond, who are rapping in a language that not that many people speak. To make a feature film, a biopic of them, just makes no sense. Like, why would you make that film? But because it made no sense, was exactly the reason we thought we should do it, right? Because it's like, who's ever made that sort of film? A biopic in real time, rather than looking back. Why don't you make it as it's happening? And we couldn't believe. It was funny flying over here today in 2019, December 17th. I set up a WhatsApp group called Kneecap Go to Hollywood, right? And today when we were sitting on the plane, I was like, lads, look, and it was a joke, do you know what I mean? It was like, set it up as a joke, and fuck, here we are, sort of.
We didn't know it was a joke.
And for you guys, were you guys all in for the movie from the beginning? Were you hesitant at all?
Us, yeah, pretty hesitant, quite hesitant, because once the film Kneecap is done, we'll still be Kneecap and he'll fuck off somewhere else. So I'd imagine if the movie was, very shit, it'd be quite detrimental to our music careers. So
yeah, and being Irishmen as well, we're very wary of English people trying to profit off our backs. You know what I mean? It's been happening for 800 years. Enough is enough.
801 now.
But thankfully it paid off, and I think because Rich had like an outsider perspective. Obviously he lives in Belfast now and his wife Danielle's from Belfast, but because he's from England, he didn't come with any like preconceived ideas of what Irish culture is about, and he was very open to our opinions, and if he had an idea that we didn't sit well with us, then we would have some constructive criticism, and then
criticism
but that ended up brought us to a really great place in the movie, and I think from day one we never had any intention of making the movie for anyone outside of Ireland. And I'd imagine there's a lot of like terminology in the film that's very colloquial, like the word tout. I don't know if you have that word here, tout, which is a snitch, is it? And stuff like that there. So I think because of that there made the film very authentic and very original. Kind of like Trainspotting, where they have the Glaswegian accent. So because of that there, I think we have a very good film. Thank you, Rich.
Well, thank you all. Did you Can I ask a question? Can you just put your hand up if you struggled with the Irish accent, just like the Belfast accent, like the bit that's not subtitled?
He's trying to say he didn't understand what we were saying the whole film.
Is there subtitles for the English bits?
Well, there was a big debate. It's like, do we put subtitles on the actual English bits? We were like, no. You'll work it out. So anyway, we're sticking with that. But it's interesting just to see that people do go. But I think that's part of the fun of it, I guess.
It's my second language, so leave me alone.
Well, this is it. This is one thing about these boys that for me was really fascinating off the bat, was that it's a really kind of foundational political act to live in what is legally the United Kingdom and to reject the very language of that
Illegally.
country. Illegally the United Kingdom. That's a better way of put it. That's a better way to put it. But it's like to reject the very language of that country and decide to live your life through a different language than that is just a very political act, right? But they didn't see it as a political. They just saw it as them living there. But I just thought that was so cool. I just thought it was a really cool thing to do, to go, oh, fuck you, we're not even going to speak your language. And I thought that's a cool thing.
Thanks.
How much Irish did you learn in the process?
I did my Fonya. I did like 2 years of classes. I would say I'm a bitterbug. I could speak a bit. It's very hard. And to be honest, I was a lot. But the idea was we're going to have like an Irish-speaking set, so it'd be like everyone would just speak Irish. And I had this fantasy, and then day one when it's just madness, and you know you're
all
worried.
The Irish, when the stress kicks in.
All the stress kicked in, and suddenly you want a light moved, and suddenly it's like you think you're like asking for an elephant to crawl up your ass instead, and so you just go abandon. Like, no, fuck this. I'm going back to English. I just need to better communicate. So
it was good that he didn't learn Irish because that meant we could talk about him in Irish.
We could ask questions like, why do you want an elephant to crawl up your arse? Here, I'm being censored here. What's going on? Censorship.
Is this drink ever arriving? I'm getting increasingly jealous of the drinks.
I'm getting increasingly drunk.
Did acting come naturally for you guys? Was that something that you guys...
For me? No, as you can tell.
Definitely not. The first few weeks. There's this, thank God.
Guramina Margaret.
There we go.
Equality.
Take a little drink.
We are.
For the first few weeks, we did like acting classes, and it didn't come too natural to us. It was very awkward, actually. And we're obviously very good friends. Makara just tested positive for COVID, so we didn't bring him with us, unfortunately. But he sends his highest regards and his love. But
the good thing is I get to pretend that I'm part of the band for just like a few days. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he must be Makara.
No,
it's
nobody's thinking that.
Doesn't matter how many paddy caps you wear. You can't be
it's
in the
got
band.
15 years on me, all right? Yeah. But you know,
At least.
I think I'm.
But yeah, we did acting classes, and we would have to like do all these games just to make ourselves comfortable and acting, like get yourself out of your head, as they say. And we would do one of these exercises where you stare into each other's eyes for like 10 minutes.
Really awkward.
Gets weird.
So
fall in love, you fall out of love, you break up, you make
you fall in love with me?
Many times.
But yeah, we got used to it. Oh, I'm gone.
Censorship.
Goodbye, everybody. I'm back. Yeah, after a few, we did it for like 4 months.
6 months.
6 months. Whoa.
Who's counting?
Who's counting? Him. But yeah, after a while, we got used to it. But at the start, it was very awkward. Just because acting is just like, I mean, you have to really let go.
It's about I think one of the big things was acting being reacting, right? Rather than, and it's this idea of, as much as there was such a massive improvement from the first time we got in a room together to start running lines through to right before we were shooting. I was still absolutely blown away by when they got on set and when they were with proper actors like Michael Fassbender and Simone Kirby and the whole cast, and I think that was really because, this idea of good actors give you something to bounce off. They give you something to react to, and bad actors conversely give you nothing. And so it's hard to put in a good performance if you're opposite a bad actor. And so, just seeing the levels.
And to be fair as well, this is the role we were born to play. Like, we're literally playing ourselves. So.
It's very difficult to direct people who are playing themselves because you're basically asking them to be better versions of themselves. Do you know what I mean? Which is, well, I know how to play my fucking self. Don't tell me how to play myself.
You can imagine how it was on set. We didn't listen to a word.
Maybe just do this here. Maybe if you do this, I wouldn't do that.
And how do you come back to that?
Me.
Exactly. How do you come back to that? It's like, I wouldn't do that. And you're like, oh, okay, all right. We'll move on.
Whose idea was to bring Michael Fassbender to play the father?
Me.
That was me.
Oh.
That was us.
And then you had to figure out how to make it happen?
I mean, there's only a handful of Gal Gore actors that you would call of sort of like A-list sort of state. And to be honest, the only reason we thought we'd try and get an A-list actor is just because we thought, fuck it, why not? Like, do you know what I mean? Let's swing the bat. And the film was already funded at that point. It was already happening. But you kind of go, well, fuck it, we'll just try and get the biggest actor we can. And Michael Fassbender is loved in the north of Ireland for his depiction of Bobby Sands in Hunger. And so of the handful of actors who do speak Irish, he was straight away, the one that the boys were like, fuck, get Michael Fassbender. And one day we sent the script to him, and a week later I got a WhatsApp message saying, hi, it's Michael, can you chat? And I kind of just thought it was one of those spam messages you get, just sort of like, I was about to delete and report, do you know what I mean? And I was like, oh. Hang on, it just crossed my mind. I was like, could it be Michael Fassbender? So I responded, oh, it was Michael Fassbender. And 5 minutes later, we were having a video call, and 10 minutes after that, he was saying, yeah, I'm doing the film. Like, cool. And called the producer up, and he was like, did you talk about money? And I'm like, fucking I talk about money. Why would I be talking about money? But no, he didn't need, it was not a movie he needed to do.
And he didn't do it for the money.
He didn't do it for the money, no. And it's a great testament to him, that he was prepared to get behind a movie like this, which is such a fucking punt. Do you know what I mean? Such a random thing to get involved in, but he believed in it, and yeah, we were chuffed to bits. The catering, as you say, he got a lot better when he was on set. Everyone brought their A game. I was like, what the fuck has this been for the last 6 weeks? Do you know what I mean?
Everybody got very polite all of a sudden, especially him.
Where's my fucking beans on toast?
How was it for you guys to sort of rewrite your story or embellish or sort of take liberties with the truth? I'm sure that was probably interesting and fun to sort of take a look at your origin story from a new perspective in fiction.
Sorry, I was miles away there. Sorry.
Disassociated there, did you?
Yeah, it's a vodka.
Can we get that again?
They made the mistake of asking for a double. They went, can we have a double? And I was like, that's like 4 shots of vodka. That's like a big lot of vodka. But that wasn't the question, was how much vodka's in their drink, was it? It was about the
embellishing the truth.
Embellishing the truth, but you never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
The majority is true. The
majority
we say that. True.
We say that. The majority is true, and some of the weirder stuff didn't make it in, actually. Some of the fact is stranger than fiction a lot of the time in this film, and so you take it with a pinch of salt.
Some of the more mundane stuff is the stuff that's made up, just because to do a tri-protagonist film is really quite a task. And I remember when I was sort of setting out to write it, going, right, I'm going to try and watch all tri-protagonist films, and then quickly realise I don't think there is any, right? And I was like, fuck, does that mean because it's impossible to do? Like, am I biting off more than I can chew it? And, so just to try and, in 100-odd minutes, to try and get 3 narrative arcs, and 4 in a way when you include the band's own story, trying to get that all kind of meshed together involved just a little bit of massaging of the truth. But the stuff like the opening scene with the helicopter and his christening, I mean, you see it, that's true. Do you know what I mean? That's sitting in a pub when I just met them, and him mentioning that, I'm like, fuck, that's the beginning of the film. you know what I mean? Like that's the start of the film right there. And it's crazy stories.
Yeah, I got christened on a mass rock.
They just watched the film, mate. They know.
Well, they might not know the history of the mass rock. Everybody sit down. Stay sitting down. The mass rock, okay. It was where the Catholics told mass when Catholicism was outlawed during the penal laws in Ireland. So my parents decided to get me christened on the mass rock. It was the first mass told there in 200 years. And the British Army thought there was something very suspicious going on, so they hovered above the christening for the whole procession. And I don't know what they thought was more suspicious, that there was a load of Fenians or Catholics in a forest, or that there was a priest with a baby in a forest.
There's your headline.
But there was nothing suspicious going on, actually. It was very normal.
It was all love.
It was all love.
Are the people from your former school fans of your work now?
Yeah, well, it's funny enough. They used to come to our very first gigs, which is why I had to wear the balaclava in the first place, so they wouldn't recognise me.
That's not why you wore a balaclava.
I'm the real sex appeal, let's be honest. So yeah, they came to the gigs. I was teaching A levels, which I don't know what that is here, 17, 18-year-olds, and then they were coming to the gigs and starting to fucking sing the lyrics down the corridors, and then I was getting pestered by the board of governors saying, "There's rumblings that you're this masked member of Kneecap." And I said, "I'm not Kneecap." Like Jerry Adams, I was never on the ra. But
it's on our Instagram. If you go down, you'll see the actual report from the school, and it was like the school was like Christian Brothers and nuns.
Yeah, it was a convent.
Convent. So they had to go through all our videos, and they were like,
the masked member appears on stage with the words "Brits and out" written on either buttock.
That's when they knew it was him.
Yeah. I know that arse anyway. Yeah, but God bless those nuns, you know.
God bless the nuns.
Going back to the Irish language, Móglaí, can you talk about, growing up speaking Irish? Did you always know that there was something different or that perhaps was not mainstream in Northern Ireland because you spoke the language?
What's the question again?
Did you grow up knowing that the language
was something different?
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up. I knew it was different, but it felt very special at the same time. So maybe that's what made it different. But like in the north of Ireland, there was no so the state was established in 1922, the Northern Irish state. There was no primary school, Irish language primary school, until 1972, and there was no secondary school until 1991. And when both schools were started, they were outlawed. The British Army said they were going to come in and close them down. They both they were refused funding for 14 years. So it was all community ran. Everybody worked for free. All the teachers worked for free, and the cleaners. And not only that, but the teachers all had English language textbooks because there was no resources, and they would just translate them on the spot. And it was pretty wild, actually, trying to learn science on the spot, as you can imagine. But it's Belfast has a very DIY scene in terms of the Irish language, and everything that we have in the north has all been built by ordinary people. So it definitely, when you're a kid and you're 12, the last thing you want is to stand out. And speaking Irish definitely did that back then, but nowadays it kind of feels like in Ireland people are a lot more open to the language and the culture, and there's not as much embarrassment around it. Yeah. And hopefully this movie kind of helps guide us towards the right direction, because I think with colonialism, after
don't forget the colonialism.
After that, there for 800 years, there's a lot of just embarrassment and shame around the language, because that's the whole point of it, to make us abandon our own native culture. But I think now in Ireland, hopefully, that people are going the opposite direction, because they're seeing value in something maybe that doesn't have so much of a financial incentive. I don't think if you speak Irish that you're going to be a millionaire because of it, but internally and culturally you'll be very wealthy.
That's also the big impact of Kneecap, is that when you got one clap that I just butted in on there.
There we go. There you go.
Cut it off. Is that when I went to my first Irish language class, the week after meeting these boys, there was 50. It was a night class, right? And there was about 15 people there, and half the people in that class were there because of Kneecap. And that was 2019, right? And so that was the cultural impact they were having back then, right? I was like, fuck, that's crazy. And you know, beyond their music, beyond the film, beyond anything, like these boys have had such a grassroots impact on the perception of the language. Do you know what I mean? Like for kids who once would have dragged their ass into class to go, oh, it's Irish, you know, now it's a cool thing. They've made a language cool, and not only that.
No, let me stop you there. Just because people always say that. And the language has always been cool. It's been cool since day one. We've just highlighted the coolness of it. Not to cut across you there, but like it's just that's what it is. The language has been very cool since day one, and like I think it's one of the oldest written languages in Europe that's still spoken today, and it has these people who, after 800 years of colonialism, that still speak it, and it has some of the best poets, some of the best singers. So we're not here to make the language cool because that's impossible, because it already is cool.
So,
All right.
so Rich, how do you feel about colonialism? I mean, I'm just
Do you feel guilt or shame?
That's a big question. Well, look, I mean, it's interesting that. Sometimes I say I don't think an Irish man or woman could have made this film because it would have been seen as being so anti-British or sectarian or something like that. And one of the things that kind of I think has helped us make the film is the fact that I am British, and it kind of insulates you a bit from that criticism, because it's like to say the film is anti-British. Well, I don't think it is anyway, but the media, you know, certain sections of the media have already tried to sort of label it as that, as this anti-British film, and the lawsuit that the boys have got with the British government about, you know, their funding, you know, they're seen as an anti-British band. But, you know, the point is that they can't really say that it's an anti-British film if it's written by a man who's from Britain, because it's like your perception of what Britishness isn't necessarily what my perception of Britishness of, and I'm not patriotic. I don't, you know, I've never felt nationalistically sort of obligated to the UK or anywhere particularly, and, you know, I think that is, you know, you can be British and also be very aware of your colonial past and feel, you know, a degree of shame about that, right? And you know,
would you agree with the sentiment fuck the king?
I mean, yeah.
That's good enough for us.
I think I'd like to add to that just in like how humour and comedy is a great means of bringing people together. And I think politicians, I think their biggest fault is they mostly don't have a sense of humour. And like we meet people, thank you. I'm not sure about the American politicians, but in the North there's...
Trump's hilarious.
Your politicians are pretty funny, but I don't think they mean to be funny. But in the North, like on the ground, when we meet people from different communities, Catholic or Protestant, like humour and taking the piss out of each other, as we say in Ireland, you take the piss out of each other, have a laugh with each other, is a means for us to break the ice and have a bit of crack. And that's something that they don't get. They think that's kind of antagonising or trying to provoke some sort of tension. But that's what humour and crack is all about, and I think that's what the film touches on. And like the two characters, Macara and Jesse, or Georgie, sorry, that their banter is just, it's a reflection on the past and trying to make light of it so we can move forward. That's the only way we can move forward when there's tension, is to have a bit of crack.
Yeah, they tried war for so long and tried fucking violence and killing each other and shooting each other, and it didn't work. It's like this is the dark humour that you see in the film.
Thanks for summing it up there.
But
where's the punchline? Is there a punchline coming?
So let's laugh. Let's laugh each other to death.
The line that we had to fight the most, to get in the film, that was literally, there was a wall of objection to, was "I want to blow you like a Brighton hotel," which you know, to some people that will go over the head of some people in this room. But basically, Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of the UK. You know, the most hated Prime Minister, Tory. There was an IRA bombing of the hotel in Brighton where she was staying, and nearly killed a couple of her ministers, and it was, you know, it was the biggest terror attack on the.
It wasn't terror attack.
Whatever. It was it was community
service.
But You know, anyway, that line was hated. It was like, you can't say that about something. You can't say that about a bombing where people have died. And we were like, but in the context of two people trying to say the most offensive things they can to each other, it's absolutely fine. Like, of course you have to say something really offensive because they're trying to say the most offensive thing as they can to each other. And so it was a long argument, and eventually I just refused to take it out, and they conceded. That was basically it.
I think that's a great moment for us to wrap. Thank you guys for being here.
Start rapping? Jeez, go ahead.
Go on then.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Here's a wrap.
being here.
If everybody stands up a wee second. If you all just stand up a wee second. We come a long way. Only joking.
Thank you. Come on,